This is 3 of the 5 positions in the secondary in Oregon's base 4-2-5 defense, where we're looking at those 2 cornerbacks on the outside, and then we're looking at that star position. People have called it a nickel. Some people have called it a slot corner, even though it's not really a slot corner. It's kind of like a corner safety type of hybrid position here in Tosh Lupoi's defense. I think when you look at the secondary as a whole, and of course with 3 of the 5 positions here, this certainly does apply. Everybody gone. Everybody gone. There's a lot of new blood, and fall camp is going to be hella interesting in the whole secondary, and especially with the corner and the star position. So I want to talk about the losses, what is departing out of this room, and there is a good chunk. You look at Jabbar Muhammad, who transferred in for 1 year last year after his All Pac-12 season at Washington. He led Oregon in 2024 with 12 pass breakups. And you look at Nico Reed. I thought he played really well in some key games for the Ducks last season. He was an all Big Ten honorable mention, 13 starts, 2 interceptions, including the game-sealing, conference-sealing interception in Indianapolis against Penn State. Brandon Johnson started a majority of the games at the star position. He was an all Big Ten honorable mention player. Cam Alexander transferred in. I thought he might play a little bit more. He only played 22 snaps, so that's not a huge loss. Dante Manning was kind of like that big depth piece beyond Muhammad and beyond Reed at that corner spot. He's gone. Roderick Pleasant is a guy that a couple of years ago in the 2023 recruiting class, he was a 4-star, top 100 type of kid, really fast track guy in the spring. He was just buried on the depth chart. There's a lot of names, and we'll get to it when we talk about this season and the upcoming room. But he was just kind of buried and didn't kind of really maybe develop as much as he needed to be able to contend for some of these spots. Roderick Pleasant in the portal. He's off to Westwood to play at UCLA. Kamari Terrell transfers to Texas State. When we take a look at some of the additions, of course, there are 3 true freshmen coming in. We'll talk about those as this commentary progresses. But how about the transfers? These are 1-year guys that they're expected to be plug and play and have a significant contribution on this year's team. First, Jaden Kennedy is the transfer from Ole Miss. Now, Kennedy was playing safety for the Rebels last season, but I think they're really expecting him to be maybe in that star role, or I think one place that he's, really going to fit in well is in a dime package. When they bring in 6 defensive backs, I think he might be the first option to be that dime back of sorts. But he had 12 pass breakups, which was 3rd in the SEC last season. And how about Theron Johnson? This is a guy that I'm really excited about. Of course, covering the Big Ten, watching the Big Ten for these last couple of years. He's somebody that I certainly had my eye on last season. A transfer from Northwestern, all Big Ten second-team guy. How about 53 tackles, 11 PBUs, 4 TFLs, and 2 interceptions? He can do it all. He takes away half the field. He's great in man coverage, extremely high man coverage grades. A lot of times for the Wildcats, he's taken away that receiver on that side, which is what you love, what you love to see and what you want to see from a plug-and-play transfer type of defensive back, and that's exactly certainly what Oregon needed. So now what does the room look like? I got 12 guys sit in this room. I think there might be a couple of others kind of out there that I was really unsure of. It just says DB, whether they're playing corner or safety, but I'm rolling with 12 guys here in this preview. Ife Obadegwu, the redshirt freshman. Theron Johnson, a redshirt senior. Dalen Austin, a redshirt sophomore. Jaleel Florence, coming off of an injury, is a redshirt junior. Sione Lalea is a redshirt junior. Jaden Kennedy is a redshirt senior. Naeem Offer, there's the first of the freshmen. That's the highest rated one right there. True freshman. Dakota Fields is a redshirt freshman. Solomon Davis is a redshirt sophomore. Brandon Finney and Dorian Brew, true freshman. And then I got Zach Grisham in there as a redshirt junior. Take a deep breath and get ready, because the entire depth chart, folks, is up for grabs. Now, when you talk about spring football, you're talking about there's no depth chart, right? Chris Hampton said that at his press conference during the spring. There's no depth chart. We're just trying to see the individual traits. We're trying to see the individual skills with different groups and different people and all of this. And you got to imagine coming out of the spring, they got an idea, I think, of who is going to be a contender for a starting spot, but I honestly believe there could be 6-ish in the running to start in these 3 spots. I honestly believe that. So fall camp is going to be, there's going to be hella battles going on to determine who are going to be the guys that are going to be out there for the first series of the game against Montana State on August 30th when this thing gets going. Now, and then beyond those starting roles, there's plenty, and that's another thing about fall camp and these battles, there's plenty of those second team type of roles that I think are going to be very, very intense. It could be true freshman, it could be redshirt senior. There's guys all across the board that I think are going to be in this battle. Now, coming out of spring, going into the fall, what do I feel are maybe, who do I feel are some of the contenders that could, that lead the clubhouse? Let's just put it that way. Been hearing a lot of good things about Ife Obadegu. 6'1", 195 pounds. He comes over from the East Coast in that Maryland area where Oregon has been recruiting really well as of late. Look, I love that I'm hearing good things. He had that great play in the spring game where he put his shoulder on the football, forced the fumble from Jay Harris. I think that was the one that Blake Purchase picked up and took it for a touchdown. But here's the thing, folks. For as much good things as I'm hearing about Ife Obadegu, this is a guy that's going to be playing his first full year of college football. Now, of course, he was, had the year of weight training and speed training and all that things to kind of get integrated and learn the defense, learn the scheme and all that, and that will certainly help. But still, this is a young cat out there. And I think that's the whole secondary as well. Like, there's a lot of excitement, I think, about a lot of young players, but they're young, and it might take them a little bit in the first half of the season to really get their feet under them and to be as good and reach the ceiling that they're going to reach, certainly in the 25 season. Outside of Ife, and I said this during my projected depth chart a few months ago, I think Theron Johnson and Jaleel Florence are going to certainly be in a battle for a starting spot. I talked about Theron and what he has, but Jaleel, you go back to that 2023 season with Jaleel Florence. He made 9 starts in 2023. And to be honest with you, he most likely would have started if he would have been healthy last year. There's a scenario in a world out there where maybe they don't bring in Jabbar Muhammad if they have a healthy Jaleel Florence last season. I feel that strongly about him. So if he's healthy, I think that's going to be huge. That's going to be huge. And I think there's a world we live in where maybe it's Theron Johnson on one side, and then maybe it's Jaleel Florence on the other side, and you go with the experience at the starting spots. But I think regardless, he's going to have a say on who's the starting corners when this regular season certainly gets underway. I would keep an eye on, like I said, I'm going to 5, I'm going to 6 when you include the guys that are going to be fighting for the star position, but I keep an eye on Sione Lalea. Hey, his size is gonna give him an opportunity. Last year was his first year with the Ducks, coming off of a couple of years in the JUCO ranks, but 6'4", 190 pounds, played a really good game against Illinois last year where he had that interception. He's got an 85.1 coverage grade according to Pro Football Focus. So I think that he is going to be in this conversation as well. So when I'm looking at corners in terms of the conversation, okay, who's going to be in the battle in fall camp to be CB1 and CB2? I think it's going to be Ife. I think it's going to be Theron. I think it's going to be Jaleel Florence. And I think Sione Lalea is going to be in there as well. Now, I know there's other guys like Neem Offord. People that say, hey, what can we see out of Dakota Fields, who's a redshirt freshman as well? I just think, maybe it could happen, but I just think like the top of the depth chart with those names that I talked about, I think that's just too talented. But maybe some of these true freshmen can fight their way in and everything. But I think experience does certainly play a factor in all of this. And those are the 4 guys that I really deem that I think are going to be battling in fall camp for some of these starting corner spots. When I get to the star position, it seems that Dalen Austin is the leader in the clubhouse right now. He's a redshirt sophomore. Jaden Kennedy, I think, is another name that you need to watch out for. But right now I would favor Austin as the guy at the star position. I think the big question, we can talk about starters, we can talk about depth charts until we're green and yellow in the face, but the question I think that we all want to figure out starting with fall camp, is this group truly going to be better? I think like you look at the guys that I mentioned, Jabbar Muhammad transferring in from Washington, Brandon Johnson transferring in from Duke. Some of these guys that they've been able to get, Nico Reed was a former Colorado Buffalo. Some of these guys that they transferred in, I don't think they have as high of ceilings as some of the guys that they've recruited. But you kind of got a sure thing. You know what you're going to get day one out of transfers like that. I think like this year in so many different ways, it's all about the development for this coaching staff. So many of their recruited guys are going to get the opportunity to finally get on the field. We're going to find out about talent evaluation. We're going to find out about development. Okay, how much do these guys develop during the spring? How much will these guys develop during fall camp, which is what we're talking about right now? And then how does that translate to the season? I think once we get to the end of the season, we might kind of look at this and be like, yeah, this group is better maybe in November than maybe the group was last year. Not saying it will happen, but I'm saying like, yeah, we could certainly be in that situation. I feel good that Oregon could certainly get into that situation as well. But that's the big question. Are they going to be better? I think they need to be better. We know that the secondary last couple of years, that's been a big reason why they've maybe bowed out and haven't gotten that national championship type of opportunity. And like when you look at this depth chart, or when you look at the names in this room, I should say, right now, let me just list some stuff off for you. Jaleel Florence, Solomon Davis. Solomon Davis will likely be in that star depth chart position. And then Dalen Austin. Those are the only guys that have been around 2 or more years. You need to find a leader. I think it's fairly obvious that it sounds like Dylan Thieneman at safety is going to be the guy that transfers in. He's going to be the leader with those guys. He's going to be the leader of the secondary. But who's it going to be in this corner room? And I think this is a big time, right? It's hot outside. It's everybody's sweating. And people talk about the NFL with training camp. Sometimes people don't want to be there, but who's going to step up and be that vocal leader? I think that goes for a lot of position groups with a lot of new faces and a lot of youth. But specifically, who's going to be the leader? Dan Lanning really encourages, hey, you don't have to be a senior. You don't have to be a junior. You can be a leader. You can be vocal when you're a freshman. You can be vocal when you're a sophomore. But what I was saying with the experienced guys, is it going to be one of those guys? Is it going to be is it going to be somebody like a Theron Johnson that kind of comes in and establishes himself as a vocal leader? I think that's something that this group certainly needs to establish within fall camp as well. The last thing I'll talk about as it pertains to corners, these true freshmen. Okay, it was the DB recruiting haul that everybody's talking about. Are they going to find a role this season? I've got to imagine that Naeem Offord is going to find a role. He made some really good plays during the spring game. I think Dorian Brew and Brandon Finney are both really good players. Could they find themselves a role? It's possible. I feel better about Naeem Offord finding a role in the 2 deep right now. I feel better about that than maybe Brew or Finney. I think Brew and Finney, maybe give them a year in the system, maybe give them a couple of years, and they're going to be able to certainly find their way into the lineup. But right now, I think Naeem Offord can find his way into the 2 deep. I really believe that. I'm excited about this corner room and the star room. It's a little bit of an unknown. With some of these guys being so new, you maybe don't know what you're getting yourself into, but that kind of adds to the excitement. Doesn't it a little bit that when you get to the end of the season, that when these guys get 9, 10, 11 games under their belt, considering the talent level is higher than maybe some of the transfers that they've brought in, it excites you that this group will be playing better towards the end of the season.